So Republican Senator Josh Hawley wants to raise the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $15 an hour starting next year. Good idea, bad idea? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Republican senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley, wanting to raise the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $15 an hour starting next year. Now, I don't really understand why he wants to do this. I mean, there's reasons we'll get to in a minute. We got videos and whatnot. We'll get to that in a minute. But I don't really get it because most of your fast food joints, any place that would pay a low wage like that is already paying way above the minimum. Right close to where I live at, you got a McDonald's talking about $15 an hour starting. Off rip starting. You 16 years old in high school. Okay, you want to get a job. $15 an hour flipping burgers right at McDonald's. And I don't live in a super rich area. I'm in East Tennessee. I'm not in the poor podunk area, but I'm not in New York City or Los Angeles or something like that. $15 an hour is already kind of regular. So what's the point of raising the federal? Also, if you're paying the federal minimum wage or right around that and you raise it, how is that going to help you? If you work a job getting paid $10 an hour, here comes Josh Hawley talking about, well, that's not really enough. You should get paid more than that. And your employer can afford it and they fold. You went from 10 an hour to 0 an hour. How does it really help you? I don't really understand. Now, some are going to say, well, hey, ABL, it's not been raised since 2009. We need more money. Things are costing more. You hate the American worker. Actually, I support the American worker. I want what's best for the American worker, a poor person, or whatever you want to say. But I don't think this is the way to go about it. Now, before I go any further, let's get to a couple of clips. First, it's going to be from this year recently, and then we're going to see one from 4 years ago because he tried the same thing back in 2021, and he spoke on the matter back then. And of course, I will link to this video and the next in the description box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
CBS News can exclusively report Republican Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri plans to introduce a bill today to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour. Now, this move aligns a very conservative lawmaker with some of the most liberal members of Congress. The legislation is called the Higher Wages for American Workers Act, and if passed in its current form, it would raise the federal standard starting next year and call for increases to match inflation. In a statement to CBS News, Senator Hawley wrote in part, quote, "For decades, working Americans have seen their wages flatline. One major culprit of this is the failure of the federal minimum wage to keep up with the economic reality facing hardworking Americans every day." And
let's pause for a minute. Now, if that's true about the wages flatlining and they're not increasing, why is that? Is it because of the federal minimum wage not being raised since 2009, or is it other factors? Also, that's not entirely true because, again, McDonald's right now, $15 an hour. I did a video where I did a live stream where it was a young man who was making $22 an hour at one of these little fast food joints. I don't know what it was. Shake Shack. I don't know what it was. Go to Buc-ee's, the gas station that everybody loves, that I love. You could start there at $18 an hour off rip. You could be a manager making well into the six figures at a gas station. So I'm not quite sure that that statement right there is true, but I digress.
Quote. Democratic Senator Peter Welch from Vermont has signed on as a co-sponsor of this legislation.
Okay, so you got a Democrat to sign on with him, a bipartisan thing. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Josh Hawley. Maybe he wants to be more of a centrist and not be some kind of J6 type person. I don't know. Okay, but that, again, is the news from recently. Now, let's go back to 4 years ago.
Good evening. I'm Dylan Austin.
And I'm Mackenzie Henderson. New at 10, U.S. Senator Josh Hawley, a conservative, wants to raise the national minimum wage. But his new plan takes a different approach than proposals offered in the past.
Yeah, the Republican from Missouri discussing the plan with us, which has more than one layer to it. First, it would require companies with revenues of $1 billion or more to pay their employees $15 an hour. Hawley.
Let's pause right there. Now, if that provision is still going to be in this new proposal, it makes a little bit more sense, but at the same time, it doesn't, because if you can afford to pay more, you're probably going to do that already anyway because you want better employees than those who can't afford to pay more. If that is not in there and the minimum applies to all businesses, small, large, everywhere in between, it'll kill the smaller businesses who can't afford to pay that money. So let's say, for example, you are mom and pop shop with 3 employees at $10 an hour. So for each hour you are open and they are being paid, it's $30 an hour. Now, if you raise it to 15, all of a sudden that same $30 can only afford you 2 employees rather than the 3. Now you got a problem. Do you have enough employees to be able to operate properly? Are you going to pay more money? Where's the money going to come from? You already operating on a very slim budget, razor sharp margins, 1%, 2%. You might even be profitable at all with the 3 employees at the 30. Now you got to have 3 at 45. It's too much. So you're probably going to close down, and those who are making the $10 an hour have no job at all. But if it applied to the Walmart, Target, Amazon, they're not really going to be affected at all because they probably already paying that. And if they're not paying that, they have enough money to invest into artificial intelligence and machines to totally replace you. And it's the same scenario from the mom and pop shop. The people who have jobs getting paid money aren't going to have jobs anymore, in my humble opinion, but I digress.
Hawley says this would be a win-win situation, triggering an immediate wage increase for millions of workers while avoiding a one-size-fits-all increase that would be a disadvantage to small businesses.
Small business, to force them to pay $15 an hour would be crushing, especially right now or in the near future. And so I think that they ought to be exempted. Of course, in Missouri right now, we're sitting at $10.30 an hour. We're on our way to $12 in the next few years. So that will continue to rise. That's state law. That will continue to rise for all businesses. But
you're raising it in Missouri to 12 or whatever, probably about 15 by now. Because again, this clip right here is from 4 years ago. It's probably 15 by now. So in your state, you're raising it for the small mom and pop shops as well. So exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to have small business suffer in favor of the big business.
I think that giving big corporations, saying to them, yeah, you've got to pay 15. Small businesses get exempted, can pay a little bit lower. That helps them stay in business, helps them be able to make a go of it.
So that's one part of it. The second part of Hawley's proposal is what he's calling the blue-collar bonus. With this, the proposal would give a wage increase to blue-collar workers that make $16.50 or less an hour. The wage increase would come to the workers through 4 checks from the government per year, which Hawley notes would be business-friendly by.
Okay, so that's that. Yeah, I don't like what Hawley's talking about. Too much government interference. Really, in my humble opinion, as I close, there should be no minimum wage at all. Minimum wage should be 0. Whatever I get paid for my services, for my skill, for whatever I do from someone, whether it be an employer, whether it's a contract, whatever it is, just a direct thing. Like, let's say I'm a salesman and I sell things. Okay, I sell cell phones, all right? I'm going to charge whatever I charge, and if people want to pay it, then they'll pay it. If they don't, then they don't. The federale shouldn't be able to come in and say, okay, sell your phones for X amount of money. How are you going to tell me that? Or I can't sell it for below what I want to sell it for. I should be able to sell it for whatever. I have a price. The person who's buying it agrees on the price. We exchange, and it's done. Same thing with employment. Okay, employer says, I'll pay you $10 an hour. I'm the employee looking for a job. I say, okay, that's cool. And we rock out. The federale shouldn't be involved. Also, are they going to have a certain number of hours required on the job? Are they going to have a certain number of employees each company must have? Because again, if I had 3 employees at 10 and then you raise the wage, you double it overnight. Now I can only afford 2. See, now you just you messing my whole thing up. How am I going to survive? It doesn't make any sense to me. But again, shout out to everybody who understands this. Everybody who understands economics. The minimum wage should not be anything. It shouldn't be dictated by the federal government. It should be up to us. Employers, employees, 1099, whatever you do, we should be able to determine what we get paid and what we pay. As long as we agree, why is anybody tripping? I don't understand, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Josh Hawley's proposal to raise the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $15? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I'm not for this at all. A lot of states have raised their own minimum wage. California is like at 22, 25. The federal is really irrelevant because ain't nobody really paying that. People are paying way above it because of supply and demand, because of inflation. Okay, why would I go work at McDonald's for $7.25 when that's pretty much nothing? I'm gonna need at least 15, and that's why they're paying that, because they understand they can't get anybody for below it. Yes, of course, prices are going to rise. But if you have the federales come in and say, okay, rather than 15, it's 30, you're going to cause things to go up more and more. You're trying to fight inflation with more inflation coming straight from Washington, D.C. To me, it doesn't make any sense. Let people figure out what they want to do as far as how much they get paid and what they pay, come to an agreement, and then we're good. Ain't going to be no slave wages. Ain't going to be no $1 an hour, because who's going to work for that in the USA? Nobody. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that is all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.